Hello again, I'm back, and today, at long last, we will be discussing Barbara Gordon. Unsurprisingly, there's going to be a lot of heavy and tricky stuff to unpack with this one, gang. But first and foremost, I want to thank my wonderful patrons for making these episodes possible. Now then, this video will be structured a little uniquely due to needing to address one misconception, then contextualize a rebounding one. So let's get started. Point 1. Who is Babsgirl? As seen in the title, in case one missed it. Babsgirl is something of a fandom name given to the Flashpoint Batgirl due to how, let's be charitable and say, different she is to the pre-reboot Oracle. She's not terribly popular in the areas of fandom I follow given the erasure of her disability, and yes, it was erasure. Sticking her with a cane every now and again because she got critiqued into a corner isn't the same thing, writers. Nor does giving her a cane do anything to address how they keep villainizing her Oracle persona or arguing it's useless and that she needs to be out in the field, which is a massive spit in the face to the amount of power and effectiveness Oracle wielded in the before times. There's also the fact that she went from a very mature, grown woman who mentored several heroes and was an integral part of the superhero community to this weird, bubbly, jokey character that looks and acts like a market-tested figure, but was market-tested with a bunch of very disconnected men who think teenage boys will think this is what teenage girls act like. Sorry to start off so negative, but yeah, Babsgirl is not a character I'm fond of, and the fact her reintroduction serves to sideline Cass and Steph doesn't help matters. It's essentially rolled back decades of world and character building because some guys were attached to the redhead from the Batman the Animated Series. At least, if the rumours I've heard are true. The thing is, there's some who claim that making Barbara allegedly no longer defined by the Killing Joke be a good thing, but she still is defined by it, more so than she ever was as Oracle actually, because they keep bringing it up, having her relive it, never letting her move beyond it. The Killing Joke defines her character a lot more now than it ever did as Oracle, where it was turned from a misogynistic write-off into an inciting incident that Barbara overcame and grew beyond. Look at this, she just broke all of Joker's teeth. This is iconic. How could DC take this away from us? Speaking of the Killing Joke, point 2. Barbara is so much more than that one-note story. I am hoping at this point in time most of us can agree the Killing Joke wasn't even a good story. Shocking and good are not the same thing, and the only compliment I can give it is that the background art was detailed. Beyond that, it's basically torture porn committed against Barbara for the express purpose of making the men in her life upset, and even her character in said story is more focused on them than her own experiences. And lest one think me exaggerating on the misogyny front, when the idea of doing all that to Barbara was floated, the DC Overseer's response was, and I quote, "Cripple the bitch." As I understand it, even Alan Moore thinks he made bad calls with it for what that's worth, but let's move on to something more positive, namely countering the idea that because the Killing Joke is bad, finger quotes, erasing it is good. This attitude strikes me as odd given what Kim Yale did with that inciting incident. The article Savaging Barbara Gordon, linked below along with other resources, goes into more detail, but suffice to say, DC had no other plans for Barbara once the Killing Joke was done. Kim Yale came in intent on making this mean something, weaving her into stories as Oracle, breaking down the trauma of her experiences and showing Barbara overcome it rather than be ruled by it, integrating her into the wider superhero community and thus solving a metric ton of writing challenges for other creators as well by making Barbara the information broker of their community. Barbara became a beloved icon for the disabled community and much needed representation. It allowed for something cohesive and worthwhile to be explored from the trauma, making her recovery something empowering and taking away the Joker's power over her. In comparison, the modern stuff is just a magic finger quotes fix, and one that very much doesn't reflect any shades of reality, making it doubly problematic, as it erases a disabled character and implies that those within said community need to be again finger quotes fixed in order to be useful or relevant, which is an extremely toxic idea that is used to justify discrimination to this day. So yes, something good can be grown from even the foulest soil, and Oracle is proof of that. Now on to point 3. Let's rewind the clock a bit to the original Batgirl era such as it was. A lot of Oracle detractors argue that Batgirl's career being ended so violently is problematic. The thing though is, Barbara had long since retired as Batgirl already. This doesn't invalidate issues with the Killing Joke, but we addressed those already. Barbara went on to study law and became a congresswoman and did all that, and then retired from it over a fairly long period of time by comic standards. Interestingly, working in Congress, she did actually still do hero stuff like stopping a terrorist plot, catch and kill a moth, etc. Said work as Batgirl actually caused her to lose the re-election campaign and led her to working at the social service department at a research development company. Yes, a lot was going on. There was even a whole magical subplot and all sorts of stuff. She even had a love life outside of Dick Grayson. Isn't that shocking? We eventually had the Crisis reboot, but given its nature, that stuff wasn't wholly erased so much as acclimated with other backstory elements from the new timeline, and the retirement angle still stuck to the best of my knowledge. Now, one can note that there were elements of the disregard of her character that fueled her treatment in the Killing Joke in this, but that to me doesn't make these events things to gloss over. Barbara was allowed to age and grow and change. Forcing her back into the Batgirl role is like shoving Dick back into being a Robin, a total disregard of all that growth and time passing. What I'm getting at here is that Barbara's career as Batgirl, depending on which era you're reading it, was a lot more than just being Bruce's shadow, Joker's victim, and then tech support. It was an incredibly varied and sprawling series of stories, character developments, rises and falls, retirements and reclamations of agency from the jaws of supervillains. There was so much weight to Barbara Gordon as Oracle, and I hope I've managed to convey that here. If you would like to help support these episodes and get early access to scripts, videos, stories, and art, please hit up my Patreon. If you would like to commission 3D art, please swing by my coffee and we can chat. For now though, that's all. Thanks for stopping by.